What's going on, everybody? My name is Jason. I work at All Out Bikes in Four Oaks, North Carolina, and we are standing here with one of the worst full suspension mountain bikes ever made. And why? Why not? I was actually perusing Facebook Marketplace, and I like to randomly go through Facebook and look for things. Well, I was flipping through Facebook Marketplace and I saw a gumball machine, and I started to go right past that gumball machine. But I noticed a couple of bikes in the background. So what I did was I stopped, I looked, and I noticed that there was this really nice silver mountain bike in the background with this really weird rear swing arm. And I instantly recognized the bike because I remember selling these bikes way back in 1994. And so I messaged this gentleman and asked him if he would be interested in selling the bike, the silver one. I got a message back saying that he did want to sell the bike. He would sell the bike to me for $200. And I told him that I was very interested in buying that bike. And where could we meet and when? So he ended up messaging me back, but not until the next day, whenever I was underneath my truck working to replace a fuel pump on my truck. Uh, I got the message saying that we could meet up at 5 o'clock, and it was almost 5 o'clock, and it was a 45-minute drive. So I messaged him back that I wanted to get the bike. So in this video, I'm going to show you the quick little drive, which I hope you enjoy. But whenever I got there, I accidentally left the camera on time lapse, and I'm going to try to uh, kind of narrate the conversation that we had with the bike, um, you know, in the video. So I hope you enjoy. When we got to his house, I do have to say that he had an absolute beautiful house, and the guy's name was actually Eddie with a D. So instead of Eddie, it was Deddy. That was how he said his name was pronounced. So he was talking about how he bought this bike new many years ago and how he absolutely loved the bike. And we talked about it for a while because he was asking me questions about bikes because he found it fascinating that I knew as much as I did. He was asking me what a Biopace chainring was, and I explained to him that that was a chainring from Shimano that was an oval chainring, and he was just ecstatic that I remembered stuff like that. But I explained to him that I've been in this business for 30 years and I've seen an awful lot. And we were talking about bikes and cars. He was big into cars too. He was showing me some of his creations. He actually does custom work for cars. And he was showing me some work that he did on a BMW. He was doing a wide body kit for a BMW that had to be customized. So we talked for a while, and I told him he had a beautiful place. I bought the bike from him for $200, and and then headed back home. Now, when I started working at the bike shop in 1994, they had this exact model right here. They had a 9200, and it was just, unfortunately, it was kind of a joke at the shop. We couldn't get rid of it. And one major reason why we couldn't get rid of it is probably because we, as employees, did not believe in this suspension technology, because we rode this and we could feel just that feedback on the bike, and all of us rode rigid bikes or front suspension. I was racing in 1994 with no suspension whatsoever, and whenever somebody would show up at the race with a front shock, they were a big deal. People would talk to them, ask them how the front shock worked. And this is whenever Trek had this. We did not see this bike at the races. We didn't. It was just front suspension or no suspension. But this bike is a well-equipped bike. It's going to have a Shimano XT rear derailleur, double-walled aluminum rims, LX cranks, LX hubs, really cool Paul rear brake here. This is like one of the first, kind of linear pull brakes, although it's not exactly a linear pull. It's called a over-the-top brake, something like that. I can't remember. That brake right there is worth more than the $200 I paid for this bike. LX cantilever brakes on the front, LX shifters, really cool bike. No, it does not ride very well. There's many reasons why this thing doesn't ride very well, but we're going to kind of get into that. One of the biggest things is, well, whenever people first bought these bikes, and they first bought them in 1992 from Trek. That's the first time that Trek got into the full suspension market. It's not the first full suspension bike. It's just Trek's, first full suspension bike. And, Trek, I mean, they tried. They didn't try very hard, but they did try. And the way the suspension is set up, whenever you're riding and you hit bumps, this wheel kind of works in an arc. Okay, so it actually goes backwards as it starts coming up. Well, whenever you're riding, you're going forward and you hit a bump, and this type of suspension design, whenever you hit something, in their minds, it would be very active. Okay, well, it's active, all right. It's so active that it's not any fun to ride. Another reason is the people were not setting these bikes up properly, and the first Trek full suspension mountain bike was in 1992. It was the Trek 9000, and that one, I believe, in Mountain Bike magazine, that was dubbed the worst mountain bike of all time. And, well, it was because it rode poorly, just like this. Although this one has some upgrades over the original Trek 9000. First off, whenever you're riding your bike, the rear end doesn't fall off of this one like it did with the Trek 9000. Originally, the Trek 9000, the pivot bolt right here would start to back out, and it would cause the suspension to get loose. And if you didn't take care of it, the bolt could fall out. Another reason why this bike didn't do so well is because of the elevated pivot on this. Now, this pivot is above the crank, behind it, okay? So what happens is whenever you're trying to pedal this, the rear end is being pulled forward as you're pedaling. Well, as it goes forward, the bike actually gets taller. And I have this set up that there's too little, or there's not enough air in the rear shock for me. Okay, but I'm just going to use this as an example. So I'm going to start putting pressure on the cranks here, and you're going to notice that the bike grows. Okay, and that's with me holding onto the front brake. Okay, let's try something different. Let's put the rear brake on, and you get the exact same thing. The bike starts to grow, and it's almost like an inchworm right now. So what happens is, even when this bike is set up properly, with a lot of air in the rear shock so that the bike doesn't sink down when you're riding, um, whenever you're climbing a hill and you're standing up and you're really attacking the hill trying to get up to the top, you're getting a lot of pedal feedback. So as the suspension, you hit a rock or a root, the shock compresses, so the bike kind of droops down, and then you're pedaling, which is causing the bike to go up. It's a lot of wasted energy. I have tried riding this bike, and I have gone up a hill, and when that exact situation happens, the bike's not, you lose your momentum, and it causes you to, well, lose your traction, lose your momentum, so you end up putting your foot down and you're walking up the hill. I have ridden a lot of full suspension bikes like this, or excuse me, I have ridden a lot of full suspension bikes, and there's only one bike that is close to this, and that's GT's RTS. That suspension design had the same idea as this. They were trying to get it where whenever you're pedaling really hard, that the bike is not sinking down, it's not wasting your energy. But I mean, in a certain situation like climbing a hill, hitting rocks, roots, tons of pedal feedback, and the bike is just not fun to ride. The RTS was notorious for this suspension design, and GT did not sell as many of the RTS when they had the LTS design out. The LTS was a much better design. Like this one is a 1994. This is the last year of this suspension design. They might have had some in 1995 a little bit, but see, Trek came out with their new Y design, which is a huge upgrade over this. It's still not the best bike, because that bike had some issues as well, but we're talking about this one right here. Well, I want to thank the original owner of this bike for allowing me to buy this bike from you, so thank you very much. If y'all enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed a little bit of the history of this bike, please, leave me a big thumbs up. Now, if you have some special requests on this bike or even something else, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll do my best to try to fulfill those requests, answer those questions. But very, very interesting piece of history here. So we're going to be doing some future videos on this bike. We're actually going to be hitting the trail with it and have a little bit of fun with this. But we're gonna try to take good care of this bike, because even though it's not the best full suspension bike out there, it is an interesting piece of mountain biking history. So if you did enjoy this video, please leave us a big thumbs up. Leave any comments down below, and I will do my best to try to fulfill those comments or answer those questions. Check out some of the other videos on the corner of the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks.